Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Coffee and Sports. This is the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. I got to say this before I introduce people. Every morning when I wake up, intro on the morning show, and I see that catch by Devontae Smith in the Super Bowl, the dagger just makes my day better. I could be having a rough morning, and that catch specifically makes my day better. The man that joins us every single morning, he's hoping that Nico is renting. He's been fired. My man, Mo Betta.
Hey, good morning, Gene. Good morning, Jory. Good morning, chat.
Joining us, we have we got a guest this morning from Passion and Precision, Jory Sports Stories, incredible graphic artist. Jory, how you doing this morning?
I got a lot to talk about, so I'm actually ready to roll this morning. I woke up ready.
I love it. EA Sports, we in the game. We got to talk about what's on Mo's agenda right there. Look, we talked yesterday morning about how the Dallas Mavericks crowd was chanting "Fire Nico, fire Nico, fire Nico," and then the next morning, or the next day, he got fired. Is this like a testimony of fans, or do you think this was something that Dallas was planning on doing? I think the fans got him fired during that game. Mo?
I think the fans' reaction to the initial Luka Doncic trade started the ball rolling on getting him fired. There had been a lot of fan pressure ever since the initial trade. The fact that the Mavericks are in the situation that they're in right now, that just sped up the process. But yes, the other night when the fans were openly chanting, I think the powers that be, the management team, the ownership team, I think they made up their mind. And they fired Nico. Now, to be fair, what I want to point out to people is when a general manager makes a trade, as big a trade as the Luka trade, he didn't just unilaterally make that trade. He made the trade, and then his bosses and his bosses' bosses, they co-signed on it and said, I think you're right. So we can kill Nico, but you need to kill the president of operations. You need to kill the owner because they all co-signed on the trade.
Yeah, but what if they sold him? Like, what if Nico sold them on the trade? They're like, all right, this better work out. If it doesn't work out, it's going to be your head. Right. Tori, do you think that the fans in Monday night's game chanting "Fire Nico" were like the straw that broke the camel's back? And then to Mo's point, I'll ask you this question. To Mo's point, do you think that when the trade happened with Luka, that the ownership group was fully on board, or do you think that they were sold on it and said to Nico, like, look, if this doesn't work, you're gone?
I think both of those statements are true. Yeah, the fans definitely, because you saw Pat Dumont talking to a fan in a Luka jersey, in a Laker Luka jersey. They're showing up in Luka jerseys, just not Mavericks Luka jerseys. So when you have things like that and they're saying they're all blaming one person and it's kind of making it harder for the actual players to play, because they were doing this when the Mavericks players were on the free throw line saying "Fire Nico." So when you have a tenure that is untenable to the players, you have to make that decision, because it was becoming untenable to the players. And without the players, you ain't got no damn basketball team. So there's that. Do I think that I think Nico sold him on that, because the more I think about it, I think Nico wanted more credit than Luka for that finals run. And he saw all the credit that Luka was getting. He was like, oh no, you got to go, because I put this team together. And look at where he's at now.
There's a very thin line for being most GMs have to be humble. It's the guys on the field. It's the team. It's the coaching. They have to be humble.
Greedy. The second you get all big-headed, you start making stupid mistakes, i.e. John Robinson. I already know this.
I agree with you. But what I'm saying is most GMs have to be humble. Mm-hmm. It's a very thin line of general manager that can be confident or cocky or this is my show. And I that's literally like Howie Roseman and then like a few others that I can think of. that have that mentality. Dave Dombrowski, who we're going to talk about shortly, is another one that has that type of mentality. Derek Dempsey said, but they got flagged. They didn't have him when the trade went down. They got lucky with that pick. Here's another thing I'll point out. They also signed Klay Thompson to a pretty expensive contract, and he's not an NBA player right now. Look, nothing against Klay. He's not an NBA talent right now. He's washed, like through the laundry a couple times. Like the clothes are fading. He's washed.
To be fair,
select the track and go home and eat catfish and spaghetti.
Yeah, Bo.
To be fair, Klay Thompson signed that deal thinking he was going to play with Luka.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he was going to have a guy like Luka who could create offense and get Klay easier and cleaner looks. I'm not excusing his play, but if Klay Thompson knew Luka wasn't going to be there, he would have never been a Maverick.
Well, he signed that deal with 2 point guards, and now he's sitting with none.
Right.
Kyrie's hurt, and one of them will get me the ball. One of them will be able to set me up. Now they got a rookie in Cooper Flag basically running the point for them. Like that's not what I signed on the dotted line for.
I kind of knew Dallas was gonna look like this when I saw Flag running the point. I'm like, no.
Listen, if you're rebuilding though, that's the move. You want him to run the point. You want him to see the court. Like if you're committed to this season being a rebuild and to be able to build around Cooper Flag and his growth, then yeah, have him run the point. But that's not what the roster tells you. The roster tells you it's not a rebuild. The roster tells you you have 32-year-old Anthony Davis that looks like he's 38. Like the roster tells you have Klay Thompson. He shouldn't be playing basketball anymore. The roster's telling you a lot more than rebuild. If your goal was, hey, I don't care what happens this season, I want to develop Cooper Flag, yes, have him run the point. That makes sense. Have him see it from all angles so he can be a better player once you bring a point guard back in Kyrie.
No, I agree. And by the way, firing Nico, it's twofold for the management and the ownership. Firing Nico opens the pathway to where they can trade Anthony Davis, and there'll be no backlash because that was Nico's deal. Them getting rid of AD right now would be like getting rid of Anthony Davis and trying to bring back assets that will help Cooper Flag, right? Like now every move you make should be for the future and not the present. Davis is 32, closer to 33. Kyrie is actually closer to 34, coming off a major injury. It sounds cutthroat, but I'd trade him too.
I want to move courses, but stay in the NBA. The NBA announced its long-awaited plans to overhaul the All-Star game on Tuesday night, laying out how the new United States once again versus the world. The format will go how teams will be formed beyond the obvious change, going to a 3-team format featuring 8-man rosters, 2 of which will be made up of American players and a third of international selections. There are a couple changes to how players will be selected. The basics, the 5 starters, 7 reserves from each conference with the combination of fans, media, and voting, coaches picking theirs remain unchanged. What is different, though, is there will no longer be any positional requirement. So guys like, Rudy Gobert aren't going to get in because they need a center. I hate to throw Rudy under the bus, but that's essentially the first thing I thought of. If you're going to have no positional requirement, centers are going to be almost off the map. You're going to have a lot of wings, a lot of guys that can guard positionless basketball. What are your thoughts on the new format? And to me, I just kind of want to add this part. How doesn't Europe or how doesn't the world destroy the United States in that format?
They keep trying to do these things to make these players engaged, and it's very clear to me that players don't give a rat's ass about the All-Star game. They don't care. It's a glorified weekend. So why subject the fans to a bunch of bad basketball? Just have the little events or whatnot and put it in one day, not a whole weekend.
I think that
the whole All-Star experience.
You're absolutely right, Mo. I think that the whole All-Star experience was ruined by LeBron James. I've been very vocal about this. I blame it on one player and one player only. It's LeBron James' fault.
I think he's got a part in that. I will say this though. Most foreign players or European players, they're very competitive. They're going to play hard. I think they'll come to play. The question is, will the Americans compete with them, or at least try to? Because even if the Americans try to compete with them, I don't think they could beat them.
I mean, just the starting lineup of SGA, Luka, Giannis, Jokic, like that's 4 of the best 6 players in the world. I don't understand how they'll compete. I don't think they will compete. I think the European team should dominate them. Like, even if you threw like a guy like Domantas Sabonis as their 5th, that 5 beats any 5 you can put up. Like, I don't argue. Jory?
I'm like, I really don't see a way for the Americans to win at this point, because, sometimes our homegrown players have this lackadaisical way to approach basketball that I don't like. And if you see the players that are coming from the European and overseas, they have a lot more grit to them. They're a lot more physical. They play a better style of basketball that I like personally. So I do think that I think it might be a little closer, but I'm also going to give my nod to World.
I don't think they're going to compete. I don't think they're going to compete. I think the American guys are going to come out there and go and move at half speed and make jokes and throw silly lob passes behind the back, and it's going to be what it's always been.
Unserious.
I'll say this. I think it's going to take 1 year for the Europeans dominating them and whooping their ass and like absolutely playing hard for the Americans to wake up. I think they'll eventually wake up. No one's going to want to go out there and get the shit kicked out of them. Pride definitely takes a part in what will end up happening. But yeah, 100%, I think that's what it will do to wake them up.
They didn't have no pride when they was putting up 200 points.
Go ahead, Katrina. Go watch the 1992 All-Star Game. It was one of the best All-Star game I ever seen.
I agree. I
have to go back and watch that. That predates me.
That was Magic. That was Magic coming back after having retired early. Yeah. I remember that because at the end of the game, the last 5 minutes is the best part because he challenges Isaiah Thomas one-on-one. He challenges Michael Jordan like he's going down. It's like he's checking off a list. It's the last 5 minutes is the best part of the whole game.
She said these guys will sit out because of load management.
Yeah, they'll sit out because of a broken nail if they broke it too low.
Do want to just touch on a little bit of the NBA action last night. Nothing crazy off the rails outside the Jazz scoring 152 points. I didn't have that on my bingo card. But the only game last night that was a really, really good basketball game, give that the NBA credit, the game on Prime, that was on Peacock, sorry. The Sixers beat the Boston Celtics 102-100. Great basketball game. Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Maxey. But the star of the show last night was a guy that I've just always been high on. And I talked about him multiple times, and the Sixers still haven't really implemented him in their rotation. But back-to-back McDonald's All-American Justin Edwards, who had 22 points last night. The guy was hitting them from everywhere. Great basketball game. Jaylen Brown did his thing. At the first half, the Celtics couldn't hit the broadside of the barn. The third quarter, which the Sixers have to be the worst third quarter team in all basketball. Like, it's not close. I bet you if you look up third quarter stats by team, the 76ers plus minus is like minus like of infinity. Like, they're awful in the third quarter. But if you watch that game last night, Quentin Grimes, Justin Edwards were the catalysts to help the 76ers win that game. When Joel Embiid and Paul George come back, the 2 guys' minutes that'll be affected most are Quentin Grimes and Justin Edwards. I don't agree with that. I think the Sixers team's better without them. Your thoughts, Mo?
I think the Sixers should trade Quentin Grimes to the Lakers. I think that would be wise.
I don't think we should do that.
That would be a wise move. We'll send back Jackson Hayes in return and call it.
Y'all have Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent, Bronny.
Oh, throw in Bronny. Good
Throw
job.
Bronny in there.
Throwing Bronny. That's exactly what we need, a 4-string guard to come in and play defense. Oh, wait, we have VJ Edgo. He plays great defense. We don't need him. Great basketball game last night, Troy. Did you watch it? What'd you say?
I like what Philly has with Edgecombe and company, but another indictment on Nico. Why the hell did you trade Quentin Grimes for that?
For Caleb Martin.
What?
That's another reason he got fired.
What? That trade got overshadowed by the Luka trade, but I think the Grimes trade might have been a little bit worse.
It's no way it's worse.
It's not worse, but I will say this: it's really bad because if you keep Grimes, who's almost a full decade younger than Clay, he does everything Clay does, but he does it better.
Right.
He can, because Grimes can take people off the dribble. He's not a catch and shoot guy. He's got a bag, and he plays good defense. You could have kept Grimes for half the price that you paid for Clay.
In 28 minutes, he had 18, 6, and 4. I'll take that off the bench all day. I didn't want to bring this up. I didn't want to bring this up, Key, because I feel like I'm getting a title of a guy that complains about officials a lot. But yes, Jaylen Brown was pushing off all game. Joel and PG better learn how to run. We're going to play out tempo. You say that we're going to
run. He's going to take 2 steps, and then we're going to see the bottom of his shoe again. And then it's going to be out for another 2 weeks.
I don't think that the Sixers will run an offense in which they're running with Paul George and Joel Embiid. I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to run 2 basic offenses.
Yep.
They're going to run one offense that's going to be a very fast style offense that's going to revolve around Maxey, Edgecombe, McCain, Grimes, Justin Edwards. And then they're going to run another offense that's going to be centric on half-court basketball, which will be Paul George, Joel Embiid. Obviously you're going to have some layover, but I think they're going to run 2 style offenses, in my opinion.
I agree.
You're not going to be able to run with those guys.
That will work better for them because Paul George is fried and Joel Embiid is barbecue chicken.
Paul George is absolutely fried. Mel, anything else we need to bring up NBA-wise?
No, it was a pretty slow night. The best game was the Sixer-Celtic game. I stayed up. Here's the crazy part. I tried to watch Denver. Who they play? It was Denver versus the Kings last night. At halftime, it was almost 12:30. I went to bed.
I look, if it was 12:30 for you, you know what time it was for me.
Right. These start times are crazy.
Yeah, I don't.
The next time I see Joel big ass at the top of the key, I'm a nut up because you too damn big to just be settling for.
He can't play physical anymore, Jor. That's the problem. And he can play physical for a few possessions, but when he gets in the paint, he ends up getting hurt. He ends up getting his knee banged up. He ends up getting his back bothered. He's already out with knee soreness. He was out with it's very obvious that Joel Embiid. Yeah, he needs to go, but he has no value.
Right. One more note: the world champs, they beat the brakes off the Warriors last night. The final score isn't even indicative how bad a blowout it was.
Yeah, it was very obvious, especially after that third quarter. But Draymond Green said something after the game. He questions the Warriors' commitment. What did you say, Joe?
They were talking about Kuminga when they were talking about commitment, and Jimmy Butler and Draymond's comments were pretty much about Kuminga. I'm like, if that's what y'all want to do and blame Kuminga because y'all not properly built right to sustain success right now because y'all are old, go ahead and get him up out of there.
Yeah, I think everyone has a personal agenda in the league, but you have personal agendas work within the team confines. If it doesn't work, you kind of get rid of your agenda, and eventually the agenda is the cause of getting rid of you. He said, I think everybody was committed to winning back then and doing that in every way possible. Right now, it doesn't feel that way. Well, let's move on. Yeah, Mo.
No, I was gonna just say Draymond's making it complicated. They're old. That's what it is. They're old. That's what it is.
I agree with you. Let's move on to the NFL. Another thing that we predicted yesterday, Mo, came to light. The Giants are not starting Russell Wilson this week. They are starting Jameis Winston, who has passed Russell Wilson on the depth chart. I'm fired up. Any game you get Jameis Winston is going to be a fun game. I guarantee he's going to take some chances. He's probably going to throw for 280 yards. I'll probably have a couple touchdowns. He'll definitely have a couple interceptions.
Yeah.
Jameis Winston starting for the New York Football Giants. Joe Shane, obviously you fired Brian Dable. Brian Dable might have been a proponent of Russell Wilson. I don't know. I doubt it by the way he acted by the medical tent. But the interim coach, Joe Shane, the Giants organization, whatever it is, has decided to move away from Russell Wilson. Your thoughts, Mo?
Look, I really feel like Russell Wilson is just the odd man out. And I don't even know if it's about his play. I just feel like sometimes fans just have a great relationship with certain players and not so much with other players. Russell Wilson is one of those guys who's never done anything wrong, is generally known as a good guy, but I think that people see him as not genuine, if that makes any sense, that he's not a genuine person. Whereas Jameis pretty much puts everything about himself out there. Jameis is who he is. I'll say this about Giants fans. They love Jameis right now, but you know and I know Jameis is going to take you on a wild ride. There'll be a 400-yard game in there. There'll be a 3-touchdown game in there. There'll be a 5-interception game in there. I want to see how much Giant fans love Jameis when those things happen.
Jory, your thoughts on Jameis Winston starting?
It should have been when they realized that. I feel like this is the main reason why Dable got fired, because you kept putting Dart in harm's way, and then you didn't want to make the quarterback switch from QB3 to QB, the whole backup thing. If we saw Russ was cooked, he needed to be quarterback 3, not quarterback 2. I feel like if he had made that switch, he probably would have kept his job for at least another 2 weeks.
I completely agree.
Stop putting Dart in harm's way. Stop calling these plays where he's getting his head dinged and beat up.
That I'll disagree with you. I agree with everything you said. I think that's Jackson Dart.
Facts.
Jackson Dart's played that way in Ole Miss. I remember watching his Gruden quarterback camp, the thing they did when now he's with Barstool, where he sat down with them and he goes, dude, you got to learn to protect yourself. You're going to end up in the medical tent multiple times. He was in the medical tent for concussion protocol 4 times this season. That's a Jackson Dart thing. He has to learn to protect himself. He is, and a lot of these dangerous runs aren't designed runs. Some of them are 100%, but a lot of them aren't. And he has less design runs for him than Jalen Hurts does. But you don't see Jalen Hurts in the medical tent every other day because he's learned how to slide. He's learned how to not do this. And Dart did this in Ole Miss. This was part of the scouting report on Dart. He would run into walls. And I love that competitiveness, but sometimes you have to understand to live to play another down.
There's a time to crash out and a time to be to preserve yourself a little bit.
I agree.
If you have a running back that'll crash out automatically like Cam anyway, we'll see him next year. You don't have to crash out as bad.
I agree with that, Suki.
If Dart doesn't learn how to protect himself, he's going to have a very short career.
Yep.
We'll find out more. More news in the NFL. Jair Alexander has stepped away from the game of football. So before I get you guys' opinions on this, because I feel like that being here, I've gotten a little bit more of a snippet of he talked to the Eagles media last Tuesday or Wednesday. They asked him how his knee was. And he said, oh, it feels better than ever. It's as healthy as it's been. Like, I feel great. I'm ready to go. The Eagles made the decision on Friday to have Jair Alexander stay back, or maybe Saturday, and not travel with the team. I think that Jair Alexander was ready to step in and play, and the Eagles were not confident that he understood the scheme or wasn't, that his knee was fully healed. He wasn't running at a fast rate. He didn't look like he was better than what the Eagles had out there in Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson. They just weren't ready to have him step into that defense. I think that reality that Jair Alexander into another funk in which he's like, I'm going to step away. Like I can't do this. I'm not going to be behind a Dory Jackson and Keely Ringo. That's my personal thought. I never want to complain about someone's mental health, but for what it's worth, Jai Alexander's never been too strong mentally. He's always been this type of person. Jory, I love your thoughts. I know you were vocal about it in the chat about Jai Alexander. What are your thoughts?
Like, on one hand, I'm like, take care of your mental so you can make the best decision. On the other hand, the timing. The timing is terrible. And it makes because like you said, everything that you just said, it makes it feel like he's pouting and he's soft quitting in a way. I'm not saying it couldn't be mental related, but I think my opinion is that he saw that he wasn't going to get on the field until he knew the system, and he sees the writing on the wall, so he's soft quitting. And he's, like you said, he's always been one of those ones that'll kind of show a little bit of mental weakness. But I'm all for him to go get his head back on his shoulders. At the same time, we know this is because you didn't play on Sunday or Monday. We know that all of this stems from you not playing and you wanted to play.
Mo?
Look, I think it's all about the mental. I think that he was spiraling. And I might be the only one that feels this way, but I think that he was honest when he said he's going to step away. I think he knew that if he didn't step away, he would have got worse. He would have gone to a darker place. I think the best thing for him, for his mental health, and potentially for whatever career he may have going forward, was for him to step away. Mm-hmm. So I think he made the right decision.
I guess. I'm always interested in things like this where, yeah, it's a lot better, by the way. Just want to say that out loud. But I'm always interested in things like this when the Eagles make a trade. Does that trade get rescinded? Do they get that pick back? He's never played for us. He basically came on our team and quit. Now, granted, thank God it's a 6th round draft pick. So, like, I don't think we're that concerned about that. But I don't know. I just feel like we need to be able to rescind that trade.
Step back before playing even a snap. It's the principle. So, yeah, do what you do for your mental health, but at the same time, you got to acknowledge that you just quit on this team for no freaking reason other than the fact that you're not playing.
The slate of football games this week are huge. One thing I want to talk about is the Jags. Travis Hunter has had surgery and is out for the rest of the season. That brings us back to a conversation that we had earlier this year. Is the NFL too physical of a game for a player to try to play both sides? With the injuries that happen every week in the NFL, is it too physical for them to try to play both sides? Jordan?
The way that he's doing it, yes. Like the way that the Jaguars have Hunter doing that, it's absolutely too physical. It's not feasible. Pick one, and then when the game allows it, you sprinkle in a package or two. But the other problem is he might be one of the better corners they have on there too. But that means that's a problem with roster construction. That's not a Travis Hunter problem. That's a Jacksonville Jaguars problem. The defense can't do anything. If they don't turn you over, they can't stop a parked car at a red light. We just saw that.
Look, the Jaguars defense did not look good down the stretch in that game. For 3 quarters, they looked fine. That 4th quarter, they looked abysmal.
Mm-hmm. They let that long neck man just take off on them. I'm like, wait a minute. But I don't think that the way that they're doing it is feasible for him. They're going to have to have him pick a side because he's going to get hurt. Injuries are going to happen. I'm not praying for the man to get hurt, but they're going to happen. But they're more likely going to happen if you're playing like 90 snaps a game.
I don't know many people that could play that many snaps a game. I remember Malcolm Jenkins used to play every snap on defense, every snap on special teams, on all three, like kick
Exactly.
return, like all that. And he didn't really get beat up, but playing both sides of the football, it's insane. It's not feasible in the NFL. I've said that before. And when we got into this draft, once again, I remember the criticism I took. I said he's not the best wide receiver and he's not the best corner. And then they said, well, who's the best corner? I said, I think Will Johnson's the best corner in this draft out of Michigan. And then he slid to the second round, and people told me I didn't know what I was talking about. He's second or third for Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's been incredible at corner for Arizona. And I said he's not the best wide receiver in this class. That's Tet McMillan. Now, Emeka Ibuka would like to have a word, but Tet McMillan, in my opinion, in the right system, is the best receiver in this class. I think he can be a Jamar Chase. I think that's how talented Tet McMillan is. But Mo, I remember talking about it with you specifically. What should Travis Hunter do? What should the Jaguars do? Because Travis Hunter told any team that would draft him, don't draft me if you're not going to play me both sides. I'm going to play both sides.
Yeah, I get what he said, but now he's a Jaguar, and if I were the Jaguars, I'd play him at cornerback. Yeah. I think he has the potential to be a Pro Bowl cornerback.
Yes.
I don't see him being a Pro Bowl wide receiver ever. I think he's a capable wide receiver, but I don't think he's a special wide receiver. And he is slight built. Like if you ever seen him at the combines and the measurements, he's a little guy. He's not a big guy. He's slightly built. I think if he's going to have a long NFL career, it'll be playing primarily and only at cornerback. You know what I mean? Like master that skill, become a star at that skill. It doesn't benefit the Jaguars to have him go back and forth, because I think if you keep playing him on both sides of the football, he will continue to get injured.
I completely agree with you. He had his best game as a receiver the last game he played. And granted, that's the game in which he had an injury, right? So I think he's the second best corner in this past draft behind Will Johnson. I think he's the third best wide receiver behind Tet and Emeka Ibuka. That's super talented, but just use him for, like Jory said, maybe 8 to 9 offensive plays, and then use him primarily at corner. This way you're getting him 60 to 70 snaps a game rather than 90. So I agree with Mo and I agree with Jory. Both of you guys bringing up great points.
Jaguars are just a mess. And I think one thing, like I saw you say something about it yesterday. I saw the video of Liam Cohen throwing that stuff on the ground. I'm like, will you grow the hell up?
The part that bothered me
is Chuck. I can get it if it was emotional as a Chuck. No, you just like a pout. Grow up.
The part that stands out to me the most, Jory, is he looks at the assistant right afterwards as if you're going to pick that up. That part burned me. That part bothered me.
Better to me, because I'm gonna look at him like this. You gonna pick that shit up. You threw it.
Yeah, if you're in the NFL and you have a job like that and you piss off the head coach, you're probably not going to be there much longer.
I got too much self-preservation for that.
I hear you. I'm picking it up, but I'm not liking it. I'm not going to be happy. I'm
a side-eye you the entire time.
I hear that. I didn't like it. We have some big NFL games this week. Like huge games this week. So many that I don't think just tomorrow will do. So I kind of wanted to get into a few today. I looked at the slate of football games this week, and I don't know. You got Kansas City at Denver, Detroit at Philadelphia, Seattle at Los Angeles. Like this week of football is Clash of the Titans. I just named you 6 Super Bowl contenders that are going to be Tampa Bay at Buffalo, 8 Super Bowl contenders that are playing each other this week. If you're not a red zone guy, I'm a red zone guy. But if you're not a red zone guy and you're picking one game to watch this week, Bucks at Bills at 1 o'clock, Seattle at LA at 4, or Kansas City at Denver, you could pick. And then you get Philly, Detroit on the Sunday night game. I don't remember a week with so much serious, deep playoff breakdowns as this week.
Because last week the 1 o'clock slate was pretty good, and then you had the 4 o'clock slate that I took a nap through. I
4
tell you, I
o'clock was
was
awful.
asleep
You knew who was going to win all 4 of those games at halftime.
after Seattle went 35-0, 35-0. I said, "Oh yeah, I'm not watching this." And I said, "Kyra will be back."
I said the same thing.
San Fran tried making a game out of it, but
They tried, but
they tried. I gotta give credit where credit's due. Juwan Jennings won me a fantasy league, so keep throwing the Juwan Jennings. But let's go into some of the games this week. Obviously, tomorrow night on Sideline to Sideline, we'll break down Jets at New England. I don't think anybody really wants to talk about this game. Jets at New England. Ugh. I know Thursday Night Football has seen a lot of upsets. I'm going to give you a spoiler alert. You're not going to see one this week. Just
no.
throw that one. You can safely pick the New England Patriots in your survivor pool and move on to next week. You don't have to worry about anything else. If you're still around and you have the Patriots, this is an easy button. I do want to kind of get into some of the sidebar games that I think that have some implications or some seriousness to them. One of them I wanted to talk about was Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Originally, when Joe Burrow was injured, we were told 3 months, which would have landed him the middle of December. They've opened the practice window, and they're expecting him back on Thanksgiving Day versus the Baltimore Ravens. The Bengals, I think they're making a huge mistake here, and I think that if they lose their next 2 games, they should shut them down. But if the Bengals go 1-1, if you look at their last 3 games, now granted, their defense can lose to anybody. I don't want to get too far on the wagon. But if you look at their last 3 games of the season, they should go 3-0 those 3 games. That's 4-1. The gauntlet they're going to need Joe Burrow for is Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore. That part of their schedule should be 0-3 with Joe Flacco. Your thoughts on Joe Burrow possibly returning to the Bengals, Mo?
Well, so I'm more like in a wait and see mode, like you. If they lose the next couple, why even bother? Shut him down for the rest of the season, and bring him back healthy for next year. But for the drama of it, and in that particular division where we're all talking about 9 wins will win it, who knows? The way the division is going with all the losing, 8 wins might win it. It's an ugly division. If Joe Burrow is healthy, and you're talking about the back end of that schedule, I think that's funny because if Joe Burrow's healthy and he plays, that kind of spoils the idea that you and I had for the Ravens to come back and win the division. Because I think at a minimum they're going to beat the Ravens at least once. They might beat them both times.
I think that the Bengals would need to split their next 2 games. They play at Pittsburgh, which they've beat 1 already. Pittsburgh looked terrible last week. And then they play home versus New England, which doesn't look good. New England looks like a really good football team. They would need to split those 2 games to put them at 4-7. Then they would need to figure out a way to go 2-1 in a stretch that's Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore. That's a tall task.
Right.
And at that point, they would be 6-8. Then they would have to sweep the remaining 3 games, which is basically Miami, Arizona, and Cleveland. That would put them at 9-8. And I don't think 9-8 wins that division. And that's me being overly optimistic. I think the Baltimore Ravens win this division.
I will say I don't think the Dolphins game is going to give me.
What'd you say, Jory? I'm sorry. Jory?
I said I don't think the Dolphins game is going to be a give me. They can lose that game. They can easily lose that Dolphins game.
Especially
depending on what
at Miami too.
Shows up. Huh?
Especially that game at Miami.
But it's in December. It's not that hot.
Well, no, I'm saying when you play at Miami, Miami has a severe advantage because they don't want to play you in the cold. Miami is a terrible cold weather team. It is in Miami, so that is you. I was speaking to your point. You're right. It's not a gimme.
And the Go Jekyll and Hyde.
I want to get Jory's facial reaction when I say this. I don't think the Ravens win 9 games. I don't think they win 10 games. I think the Ravens win 11 football games this season.
Wow.
They're 4-5 right now. I know what I'm predicting. I think they go 10-1 in the 11 games when I predicted them to go when they were 1-5. And if you look at the Ravens' schedule, it is extremely doable. Their defense is looking better. Not where they need to be at, Jory, I know. But they have Browns, which most people would consider that a win. And then they have a 3-game home stretch versus Jets, Bengals, Steelers. Would you think that's crazy for them to win all 4 of those games? I don't. Then they play at Cincinnati, which Cincinnati can't stop a cold. And then I think they go 2-1 down the stretch with New England, Green Bay, and at Pittsburgh. That's how I have them at 11 wins. Jory, how many wins do you think how many wins do you see for the Ravens? They're 4-5 now. I know you don't like them. I understand. But take the I don't like them cap off for a minute. How many wins do you see them finishing with?
I feel like they'll split with the Bengals because that's a division game. They should beat the Browns. Now, the one thing about the Ravens it's not just the defense. It's the coaching. Monken in this Cinderella play call. If that don't get better, they have no chance. Because even versus the Vikings, you saw the play calling and the offense was stalling until they realized we need to run the ball. That's the one thing that's going to really hold me back. It may not even be the defense. It's the play calling and the coaching situation overall with that team.
So how many
they
wins?
Are one fourth quarter collapse away from quitting.
How many wins do you give them?
I got the schedule pulled up. So I'm like,
I got you. I'll read it to you if you want.
I have them beating the Browns. I have them beating the Jets. They should beat the Jets. Splitting with the Bengals.
Okay, so that's 1 loss.
Did they win the first? Did they play Pittsburgh already?
No, they played Pittsburgh twice going on the stretch. 12-7 and then the last week of the season.
I have them splitting with them.
That's 2 losses.
I have them losing to New England.
That's 3.
I have losing to the Packers.
That's 4. So you have them at 8-9.
That's where I had them.
You have them 8-9. I have them 11-6. You have them 8-9. Mo, where do you see the Baltimore Ravens?
I think they're gonna win 10 football games.
Okay. I think they're a runaway to win that division. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers looked atrocious last week. Aaron Rodgers had a quarterback rating, a QBR of 4. Yeah, not 40. 4. That offensive line cannot protect. The defense, the passing defense is terrible. They're starting to get a pass rush now, which is helping. But them losing Darius Slay and then trying to bring Asante Samuel Jr. in, that's not going to work. Jalen Ramsey's moved to safety. I think they're in a bad spot. So
they're right there to get got.
What did you say?
They're right there to get got because
100%.
of the offense.
Another NFL topic or game I wanted to talk about that has implications. So it's not a game that right now means a whole lot, but it could in the future. The Los Angeles Chargers, who are trying to get healthy, they just beat the Steelers on Sunday night. They're going to travel back to a city that they really do not have a lot of good fortune in. They're going to play at Jacksonville this week. Jacksonville, which Kobe Myers hopefully getting a full week of practice. And that Jekyll and Hyde team, who went up 29-10 at Houston versus the number 1 defense in football and proceeded to lose the game 36-29. It's been a house of horrors for LA in Jacksonville. I'll bring you back to the playoff game, which they were up 28-3. They blew that game. I'll bring you back to 2 seasons ago when they went into Duval and got stomped out. Jacksonville hosting the Chargers is a lot bigger game than people will let you know. The 6-3 Chargers versus the 5-4 Jaguars is, I don't want to say must-see TV because they're sloppy as shit, Both teams are super sloppy. But what are your thoughts on that game this week, Jor?
I do think that the Chargers, I will say this before I get into my spiel. They got away with one 2 weeks ago. I've been waiting to say that. They're so lucky that my offense is trash.
Talk about the Titans game.
4-yard line and couldn't score. And the score was 20-27.
Yeah, you're not emotional over the Titans at all. I get it.
But this game, the battle of the sloppy joes. Because what is this going on? With the Chargers, my biggest thing is that offensive line. Their offensive line cannot protect Herbert. They've been injured since the word go, and they keep getting injured. So that's going to be something to watch for. And on the other hand, with the Jaguars and their defense, it's about want to. And I feel like that Houston game last week could have broke that team, even though they've been sliding for the past couple weeks.
I mean, you're
that
right.
That might have broke them because you saw that eye roll that Sunshine was giving on the bench. I'm like, that was a hard eye roll. But
look,
I do think that.
Good.
Oh yeah, especially through the stretch. All they needed y'all to do was get a first down or at least kick a freaking field goal to stop them. And what did the Jacksonville offense do? A bunch of nothing and then a fumble pick six situation to end the game. So I do think that the Chargers defense can get to Sunshine. I think that's gonna be a telltale.
I will bring up the fact that they completed a 15-yard pass that would have gave Walker Little a shot to kick a game-winning field goal, and it was called back by a phantom legal hands to the face. That was awful. So I don't think they're in that position. And by the way, the reason I'm so emotional about that game is on wire to wire, I've been picking 3 games every week, and I was 22-5 going in this week. That's a pretty good record picking against the spread. I should be 24-6, but I'm 23-7 because I had the Jaguars plus 1.5. So that pick, fumble, whatever for a touchdown cost me a win this week.
Yeah.
And it severely pissed me off, that legal hands to the face. Mo, what do you think happens in this Jaguars versus Chargers game?
I think it's a low-scoring game. I think, look, Harbaugh knows they don't have a great offensive line in terms of pass protection. He's going to run the football. He's going to go old school, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They don't have to have an explosive run game, just an effective enough run game that the defense respects the run and gives Herbert the option of play action. I think they muck it up like they did last week, but I think the Chargers find a way to get the win. This is a big game for the Chargers. They need to bank certain wins. They need to beat this Jaguars team. I expect them to find a way. I think the Chargers will get the win in a low-scoring game.
Mm-hmm. I expect that.
I got to move on. We'll talk about the primetime football games tomorrow. I want to talk about Dave Dombrowski, and I want to talk about Bryce Harper. And I don't know if you guys have seen or kept up with this story, but it's a hilarious story. I'm wearing my Phillies Harper jersey today because, solidarity. But Philadelphia Phillies president of baseball operations, Dave Dombrowski, said he had a long conversation with Bryce Harper recently, but wouldn't go into the specifics. The talk came after recent comments of Dombrowski that seemed to irk Harper. Didn't seem to irk him. Harper went out and said he was hurt by the comments. After the season, Dombrowski gave a postseason analysis of the team. And he said, this is, and I quote, he's still a quality player. He's still an all-star. He didn't have the elite season like he's had in the past. I guess we'll only find out if he becomes elite or he continues to be good. Harper then heard conversations about him being traded. Ruben Amaro Jr. went on 94 WIP and said that a big name will be traded for the Phillies this offseason. One of those big contracts will be moved. I can't tell you who, but a big name will be moved from the Phillies. Harper's response was, it's disappointing to hear being questioned about my contribution to the team. Just really hurt by that notion because I love Phillies so much. I've went my entire career fighting off trade deadline situations. it prompted a recent conversation between Dombrowski and Harper that Harper characterized as productive. We had a good conversation, Dombrowski said. We talked for a while, and really, conversations between Bryce and myself are between us. The question I want to ask you two, and I think the part that I think this is more calculated by Bryce Harper than people are going to admit. He wants an extension.
Mm-hmm.
He wants a raise. And he's using the fact that his general manager, trade talk, and him not being the elite player that he was, is I'm upset. You're going to pay me for being upset. Did you find anything really wrong with Dombrowski's comments about Harper not being elite this year like he has been in the past, and we'll have to see? And do you find a reason in which Bryce Harper should be upset over those comments?
I mean, he's going to be upset. He has pride, and he feels like he's better than – he's been a great player, but
Right.
I just pulled it up. He only batted .261 this year. So that's good, not great. So he needs – that's a part of – that's his pride talking. He's a good player. He's not great right now. Do I think he could turn back the clock? It's going to be hard to tell, but – he needs to get his feel. He needs to get out of his feelings because he wasn't wrong if you look at it.
Dombrowski definitely wasn't wrong. His postseason performance left more to be desired too. He didn't have a great postseason performance either. Mo, I watched the Phillies in the postseason, and I was waiting for that moment in which Harper and Schwarber would turn it on to help the Phillies in that series versus the Dodgers.
Yeah.
And I got to be honest with you, it didn't happen. And for a payroll as high as the Phillies, with as many stars as the Phillies, to October after Red October, for their bats to go silent. Arizona, Los Angeles Dodgers, New York Mets. It's happened 3 straight years that team's bats went cold in the biggest moments in the postseason. Dombrowski's not wrong in this scenario. Your thoughts?
He's not wrong. But at the same time, I'm on the outside looking in. I wouldn't write off Bryce Harper and saying he's done. You want to say that he had a subpar Bryce Harper year and he wasn't effective in the postseason? I got that. But I think that Bryce Harper is far from being done. And I do think that Bryce Harper is a smart enough guy. He wears his emotions on his shoulders that he sees an opportunity. Like you said, like, this guy insulted me. He's implying that I can't get it done anymore. Yeah, I think you need to pay me for my emotional feeling. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in my feelings right now. Pay me if you want the best version of me coming out next season. So I don't think Dombrowski said anything wrong. I think he was very honest. I think he was very upfront. And I think Bryce Harper saw an opportunity.
I couldn't agree with the words that you said.
I'm going to be upset. I might as well be upset and paid. I can cry in a Rolls Royce.
Right.
It's a great line. I'm crying in a Rolls Royce. I would love to cry in a Rolls Royce. Help me out. Listen, there's a lot of things going on in the world of professional baseball. The free agency basically starts as soon as the World Series ends, but it's also the slowest and most drug out free agency in all sports. The MLB needs to fix something. They need to have their free agency over the winter meetings and get that shit done and have it be, they do this where one guy signed November 12th. But
then we don't get to like March or April. There should be nobody signing by the time teams report for training camp.
But it happens every year.
That's on my nerve. I'm like, what?
Happens every year, Jor. Happens every year. Harper signed the end of the beginning of March. I remember Machado signed the end of February, the year that they had their big contracts. MLB needs to fix that. They need to fix that. They're going into an offseason where a lot of people think there will be a lockout next year. The WNBA and Major League Baseball are expected to lock out. Major League Baseball wants to implement a salary cap. Rob Manfred went in the Phillies dugout and talked about a salary cap, and Bryce Harper told him to get the F out of our clubhouse. And a assistant for Rob Manfred said, that's how you end up in a ditch talking to the commissioner that way. Those comments are vicious and they're very direct. I think that these two sides are leading towards an inevitable
lockout.
And I don't think they'll ever agree to a salary cap, but
No.
they got to stop what's happening in LA. Deferring money for 20 years. Like, that's not realistic. Like, it's something that I think that needs to end in Major League Baseball. Obviously, they have a massive issue with gambling, just like the NBA does. But it's funny how that part gets overshadowed. The NBA gets talked about every single day. Damon Jones.
It was found to be gambling for like 3 years, throwing games for 3 years.
Baseball is the original gamblers. You're talking about the Black Sox scandal. They're the original. Pay us this. Emmanuel Clase got paid $7,000 to throw a bad pitch, and when he makes $1 million a year. I want to repeat that for you. He got paid $7,000, not $70,000, not $700,000, $7,000 to throw a bad pitch. Now, these gambling sites have responded by making a limit. $200 is the most you can bet on a single pitch or like a pitch prop. It's not going to help. These gamblers are still going to find ways to get to these players, and these players' greed is still going to find a way for them to screw it up. If you're Emmanuel Clase, I don't know what you can say. He made $1.5 million last year and threw it all away for $7,000.
That is the textbook definition of hustling backwards. If I haven't seen it, hustling backwards. The hell, you make millions of dollars, and you over here selling out your job for $7,000. That's pennies. That's pennies on the dollar compared to what you're making. Hustling
and he's
backwards.
one of the best closers in baseball, so he would have got a way bigger contract if he just.
And I do feel like because they're facing up to 70 years in prison, they're gonna start talking.
It was $4 million a year. I'm sorry. 5-year, $20 million extension.
But because they facing 77 decades in prison for this crap, they're gonna start talking.
By the way, I need to shout out Kyle Edwards in the chat. He's been all over it. MLB needs a salary floor, force cheap teams to spend. Yes, baseball has to fix free agency. And then he said a comment up here that I didn't get to, but I loved it, and I wanted to talk about it for a second. Not even a second, but just he said Burrow possibly being ready now makes the Jets and Bears losses way more frustrating.
Yep.
Completely agree with you, Kyle. You're dropping a lot of knowledge in the chat. I want to acknowledge it. Mo, your thoughts on Clase, the MLB, and everything that happened?
Look, how do they fix that? I have no clue. But it's interesting because, like you said, the NBA is in the news every day over the last month. And MLB, like you said, they're the OGs of this, but it's kind of being swept under the rug. And look, I give Major League Baseball credit for this. When they have a problem like this, they fake handle it really well, really fast, and they get on top of it. Even if you go back to the whole situation with Ohtani and his interpreter, I thought they handled that incredibly fast. Gone, done. We don't even talk about it anymore. It's a wrap. Although in the back of my mind, I feel like there's more questions than answers from that situation. But I'll leave it there. I think that when you're the commissioner, it's tough to find that balance, especially in the time that we're in. I don't know how you control that. I really don't. The guy's got his hands full trying to control that. And at the same time, you can see the lockout coming a mile away. My only problem with the lockout is this. Ultimately, there's not going to be a salary cap. That's not going to happen. That's not a thing. It isn't going to happen. I don't even think the owners are united on that. I don't think they're united on that.
They should be.
I mean, the owners definitely should be. They absolutely should be. But you're absolutely correct. I don't think they are united. 10 o'clock. We're at our time. Any final comments, thoughts, questions? Jory, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Appreciate you.
Angel Reese is a dumbass, and I'm starting not to like her.
What did she do?
Like, went on that podcast and talking about therapy and disparaging therapy, and Angel, just because you haven't went to therapy does not mean it does not work for Black people. Quit spreading that stupid stereotype that stops people from going to get therapy. And I'm glad that the celebrity that she was on there with kind of checked her, but I'm not finna be gender aware. That's stupid as hell. And the fact of the matter is, you speaking on something you don't know about because you haven't been. At this time, it's ridiculous. We just had a fellow athlete take themselves out, and then this comes out that you saying that therapy don't work for Black people. Shut up.
Angel Reese just turned 23
That's
years
my
old.
comment.
Angel Reese just turned 23 years old. I think anybody that's 23 years old that has an absolute opinion on anything that serious should probably keep it to themselves. I don't mean to sound ageist when I say that, but if you're that young and you have an opinion that strong about therapy, I've been through therapy. I'm 40. I don't have a full opinion on whether or not people should be able to go to therapy. We just watch what happened. Go to therapy. If you feel like it helps you, it helps you. I don't want to hear your negativity on what helps someone else. I think that she needs to really kind of watch some of the things that she says on her podcast. Mo, any final thoughts?
Real quick on the Angel Reese situation. If you don't know what you're talking about, say less.
Correct. All right. Well, that's
Being
all.
quiet is free.
I love that.
Free
That's all our
99.
time today. Thank you so much for hopping on with us, Jory. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you tune in tonight, 7 p.m. Wire to Wire Sports Podcast. Cottrell will be back. He's got a new baby, new family member.
Congrats.
It'll be interesting to talk to him, and we'll get back on the swing of things. Our growth on Facebook and YouTube has been very evident recently. Tons of shows hitting thousands of views, adding subscribers left and right on YouTube. I love you guys so much, the people listening, and I appreciate that. Mo, do me a favor and close us out.
Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us this morning. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network, we appreciate you.
We'll see you tonight, 7 p.m.